Hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport. So we're going to have I'm preparing to do one of the final videos with a layout in service with the 3 Boer locomotives, O30T tank locomotives. We're not going to go into detail on the class right now because we'll do a full video with a potted history with all 3 of them, talking about the locomotives themselves and also about the Jouef models. But just to anticipate a couple of things, these were internal cylinder 060 tank engines, lightweight but very powerful tank engines designed for the suburban services in the Paris area, the ligne de banlieue, no, the banlieue and the petite ceinture, the small railway belt that surrounded Paris, and they operated both with single deck and double deck carriages, and we'll actually see that in the video. But now to the model. This is a 5-pole motor O30T Boer locomotive, which the previous owner, or one of the previous owners, I don't know which number I am, bought this second hand a year ago, has improved the model, but we'll see this in detail by doing a comparative presentation of the locomotives with extra handrails, cable for the bell, more handrails, more piping, sand pipes as well, and making a very nice detailed model. And also these are all made in copper piping and copper wire, sorry, and but despite the detailing, it's still very, very sturdy and very simple, of course, because that was the model as it was in origin. Front hook has been cut off. This locomotive in its life has mainly run forward, not having the front hook, and not in reverse. In fact, in reverse it tends to make a kind of clicking noise I've tried to address to understand what's wrong with it. Here we'll see now, we'll take the base plate off. Wheel bearings are just plastic bearings, plastic notches where the axles stay in situ, and they're quite worn out. I think the clicking is due to the fact that the locomotive was only operated in forward direction, so the motor bearings are a very important factor, because then on the motor shaft there is the worm drive, which drives the gear, got used to going only in one direction, and so that's why when going in reverse there is wear, so there's no even wear to the motor bearings, to the various stress loads. Okay, so technicalities apart, we're going to open the locomotive, and let's check if this telephone is behaving itself, because before it sort of stopped filming and I had to throw away a whole lot of rubbish that was inside it. In future videos I'm going to buy a new battery for my digital camera, and I'll actually use the digital camera to film, and then I'll use the software to assemble, and we'll get better quality videos. Right now we've been doing rough and ready single take stuff on using the mobile phone. Anyway, we have to take the bodywork off, the locomotive body off. This is just clipped together. Base plate is clipped on, but the base plate we have to use a screwdriver. For the bodywork, a plastic lever of the kind used to disassemble mobile phones, tablets and the like. I got this in a set with a multi-bit screwdriver, very, very good set over there. Maybe you've seen it in previous, no doubt you've seen it in previous videos. And mentioning the detailing, we've got painted smoke box handle, painted whistle, painted window surrounds, etc. Rear light, chain here, lamp irons at the front. So it's a very nice model, this, very, very nice. Okay, so let's get the bodywork off, otherwise we're going to make a meal of this. Righto, let's just snip. It's very simple, you just slide it in and off it comes. Very easy. There you go. It's just held in by 2 pegs, by a peg here and a peg there that slide into these holes, as you can see, and then you just clip it, press it down. First you catch the smoke box, and then you press down over here. So here we can actually see some of the detail work that's been done, the improvements. We can see there are these pipes here, actually very well done, executed job, because even holes have been drilled here so that these details catch in and remain solid, these pipes. And we can see that copper wire was used. You can see here copper wire, which was then painted in the correct color. Okay, so we can put this out of the road for the moment, it's not needed. This locomotive doesn't have much, it has a weight, small lead weight here in the front, on the smoke box, which is important. So it's not a very heavy locomotive. In fact, you can see that it has traction tires, but it's important to have weight at the front because of traction and because of pickup, because the pickups are on the first two axles. So there is a sort of lead slug here at the front, which does a job. It's got a good adhesion anyway. Okay, now that's our locomotive. We can see 5-pole motor, 5-pole motor, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. A very quite quiet 5-pole motor. A Jouef motor, 5-pole motor is quiet, unlike the 3-pole equivalent, which is very noisy. Okay, and this drives direct drive with a worm drive, and with a good controller you can get good speeds as well, so it's pretty realistic. Okay, we can see here, for instance, that the chassis, which in origin was black, has been painted grey, and the spaces in between the spokes have also been painted grey, so that you have the impression that you can see through the wheels, which are just solid, because you see it's just plastic discs stuck into metal wheels. Another thing regarding the chassis, also whoever customized it added a length of piping here with copper wire, which actually passed through here behind the steps and all the way to the front of the locomotive. But I noticed that the kingpin of the connecting rod was touching that on bends, and these here have a tendency, particularly when you lubricate the connection rods, to come loose, and then you can have a real problem if you bend your connection rods and things if they come off. So I didn't have to do anything on this locomotive. On another one, still the same identical locomotive, one of the pins came out, so I put it back in with a spot of bearing sealant or thread sealant, and it came very well. Okay, so let's have a look at, first of all, the motor. What's the problem with this locomotive? It's going badly. It's tending to hiccup. So the problem is, it's got here, I always lubricate the pickups, which are on the axles. It's got split axles, and I think this is quite a worn end motor. You can see if I touch the wheels, the driving wheels at the back, you can see that there's a bit of play there in the, I hope you can see that. I don't know what's going on here. See, there we go. There's a bit of play in the motor, in the winding. So that requires lubrication. And that's one of the reasons why it tends to be noisy. Okay, so we're going to first of all lubricate the motor. Let's try and not make a disaster here. Okay, let's get the enlarging glasses. And to lubricate the motor bearings, I use a mix of, this is a small jar with a mix of lubricating oil and technical petroleum jelly grease, which I use. I've stirred it up a bit just to get myself to have more here, and with this tool I'll make sure we scoop it all back in afterwards. So we will get this tool here. This is a chemistry laboratory tool that I use for these. Belonged to my granddad, who was a chemistry teacher in Glasgow, and I putting a spot of grease on here, on this point, and this way. I don't know if you can see what's going on the desk here. Okay, and we put a spot of grease, mix of grease and oil on the motor bearings. So we want to pull that back. Oops, I have greasy fingers now. Try not to get grease all over the place. Okay, so I'm pulling the motor. I don't want to get this stuff on the winding, so I'm just going to go in and pop it on the bearing right there. And just I'm pulling it back so that I'm away from the winding. Just going to go in there and wet the main shaft of the motor very, very gently. You don't want to put too much of this stuff in there. Oh, let's add another one. Yeah, of course I got it all over the table. Clever Dick. I'm no use. Righto. Okay, I'll add another wee spot right in there. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but it's a very, very precision job. And we're far away from the brushes here, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, if some stuff gets in the winding, it's not a major tragedy if something gets in the winding, but you want a drop. I don't actually just go in there, I've got a better drop on it, and we just go in there like that. There, I've wet the thing. Let's just dry that off. You don't need any grease on there. And now we're going to repeat the same operation here on the other end of the motor, the shaft. So we're going to go in here and make sure we get the drip of oil and grease in here. Here is more delicate. We don't want to get oil. That's why I'm putting a mix of oil and technical petroleum jelly grease, because it tends to be less fluid than just oil, and there's less risk of the oil going on the brushes. Anyway, we're at the warm side of the motor, so there's less risk of coming in contact with the brushes, getting grease on the brushes, or oil on the brushes. It's not good at all. There's a commutators in there. I'm going to open one of these motors. I've got a spare one. I've never really opened one because the commutators don't get very dirty on these motors, and I've never really felt the need to open one up. So let's just go here. Okay, stick that in there. Let's add another spot. Righto, in there, right there on the okay, perfect. And we'll just get everything to turn, just to turn the wheels a bit. Let's use the 9-volt battery. Trying to do things quickly because I've got to go out. Okay, right, that seems to be good. Now we'll just park this here on the support. We have to open the base plate now. So I've finished with this stuff, the mix of oil and technical petroleum jelly. We can actually scoop the excess, what didn't go on the modelling mat, back into the jar and clean things up and put them away like that. Get that clean. Might not be seeing things on camera. I'm just cleaning this tool. We can wipe this here as well. I have to touch bits of bodywork, and I don't like having greasy fingers. It's disgusting afterwards. You get greasy fingerprints all over the place. Okay. My granddad did the thing, the one from Glasgow, the chemistry teacher, the photographer. He was always saying, You put your you touch something, as you put your big greasy fingers on it. Maybe it could have been a camera lens, it could have been the paint on the bonnet of the car and things. The way he said it, it always sounded as if people had their hands dipped in a chip bag. Your big greasy fingers, you'd be having chips, and then going and touching things that you shouldn't have been touching with greasy fingers. Okay, what could I use to clean my hands? Oh, spot and nail varnish remover, that's degreaser. Let's just do that. I don't suppose it's very good for the skin, but the goal here is to have clean hands. Lovely, it stinks. Okay. Okie doke, righto. Checking what the video's doing, where we are. Right, we have to take the base plate off this boy. To remove the base plate on an O30T, Jouef O30T Boer locomotive, you can't use a nice plastic stick, plastic lever. You have to use a screwdriver. It requires a bit more force. Not really force, but you have to go in there and free the rearmost end. To wiggle that out, I have to put in my hands, but to get this done properly. And that pops it out here like this. I don't like clip-on base plates. It's something, it's just asking things to get broken. So either that or like this. There you go. First thing you have to do is to free it at the back. Has to come out at the back. Once you've got it out at the back, there, that's the rear end out, it unclips. Then you go here on the sides. I have no idea what you're seeing because I'm filming with the front camera of the phone, not with a selfie mode, because on this stealth I prefer the resolution of the front camera. So every now and again I'm checking what's happening using an old car rear view mirror. Perfect. So we're going well. I'm also checking that the thing has no force. Okay, it's running. I've not been switched off. Jolly well. Righto, so this has come unclipped. And we can take the base plate off. I always like to lubricate this very well. Here we can see the mechanism. So, we have drive gear on the rearmost wheels with the traction tyres. Lower contact of the motor, which is powered by this pickup. They're axle pickups with split axles, but they don't disconnect. I've not had any problems with loose axles yet. And pickup on the front axle, pickup on the second axle. I keep the axles nicely lubricated with technical petroleum jelly, which conducts electricity, and it keeps everything running very, very smoothly. The problem is that because these pickup axles, because there's a regular track, etc., there's a tendency to maybe some sparks there could be sparking, there could be, and so dirt accumulates. So what we're going to do now, we're going to give this a quick clean and put some fresh lubricant on it, and that way it'll come and it'll run nice and smooth, because it's not been, I cleaned the wheels yesterday, but it's not a case of dirty wheels. So on the central axles, which has been on the central axle, which has been they've added these sandpipes. I have to slide these out. So I'm going to have to turn one of the sandpipes round using a pair of pliers to be able to access. I need to access the wheel set to be able to pull the wheel set out. Or I'm not going to really pull the wheel set out. I'm just going to lift it up because I want to clean things. Okay, one. So it's very well thought. The person that did this job really thought things, even thought of maintenance. So these are just, they're not glued in or anything, they're just posted in, and you can actually turn them around to do your maintenance and your lubrication. So really very smart person. Very well designed, whoever you are. Anyway, that comes out, that comes out. I can even lift the whole wheel set out. There we go. I can lift the whole wheel set out. That way we can work better. So we'll put the wheel set down right now. We're going to clean the pickups because I see there's still grease on them, but I see a bit of dirt. So we want to have some lighter fluid. There it is. I marked this wee bottle of these are bottles of thermal water you use when you have the cold, to use it with aerosol and to get your clean your nose. So we're going to clean things, and cotton bud dipped in there, some lighter fluid, and we'll give these a clean because the grease has got dirty, everything's got dirty, so we want to have nice clean and put new grease on and make sure that the pickups are nice and clean. There we go. Pickups are nice and clean. And another thing, it's always good to make sure that these pickups are pointing up, it's kind of bent downwards to sustain the axles well. There we go. So that there's good conductivity. And we don't really need to go. You see, I've greased. The chassis in origin was black and then it was painted grey. Okay, so we've cleaned that. We could even change that cotton bud there and get a clean one. Let's just do. We're needing new. Just getting rid of some of the. Technical petroleum jelly is a very good grease to use on a lot of locomotives because it doesn't gunk up. That's good. So I'm just cleaning off what's a bit dirty on there. Now we'll have a quick look at the wheel set. Let me see if you can see the wheel set. That's the point. Okay, let's just move that over out of the road. Wheel set. Let's clean the wheel set. I think we're in camera, aren't we? Yep, we are. Perfect. So we're going to give the wheel set a quick clean to remove any oxidation and any dirt that shouldn't be here. And then we'll put on it. I'm just removing the grease which has got dirty in time, and we'll put clean grease on it so that we have a good, we improve conductivity and keep everything nice and maintained. Central 1, 2. The grease isn't bad, gone off or bad or anything, it's still in very good condition. I noticed that it's very important to lubricate the front axle very well because it has kind of lateral movements, you know, to cope with curves. And that's very, very important for it to be well lubricated. These Boer O30T Boer locomotives require a bit of attention to keep them running nicely. In particular if they're very old and very worn out like this one. So that should be a bit better. I see that it's come clean. I don't really think I need to touch a gear. The rear wheel's got, let's see if there's any fluff gathered on here, but I don't run them on the floor, so technically there shouldn't be any fluff. Let's see what I'm doing. Spot a light. Oh, of course there's fluff. Fluff manages to get everywhere. There's a bit of a hair. Suppose that's mine. Oh, an eyelash. Okay. What's that rubbish? I think you just saw the back of my lamp. Sorry. Okay, that's good. I can just keep that there on the tin. Okay, let's just get another cotton bud. That one's got grease on, so that would not be a good idea. Another cotton bud. Lighter fluid's evaporating all over the place in the meantime. We'll just clean the axles here because we're going to just grease, give a good grease to everything. That's not going anywhere. I have to pull some off, make it a bit longer, like that. If we want to clean, in between the gear, and the wheels. So we have to pull this a bit, but not to make it loose. We don't want fluff coming on there. We just want it a bit softer to go in there like that and clean better. There, that's nice. trying to get this video done, because then I want to go and wash a car. It's been foggy and rainy here, and practically can't see out the windows. Okay, there's some fluff remained off the, some fluff off the cotton bud, or lug houker, as we say in Glasgow. To houk means to pick, and lug is your lug, your ear. So, a lug houker. There we are. Okay, just give the gear a wee clean as well. No, coughing. Evaporated lighter fluid seems to agree with me. Okay. I was doing modelling once in here. I was building a kit and I was painting things and I was doing all sorts of stuff, and my wife came in here and she said, "Oh, for heaven's sake, it smells like the cobblers. You're fixing shoes in here. What's the smell? You're breathing all this stuff." I was totally oblivious. There was a bit, you know, the plastic cement, that's solvent. It wasn't so bad. That's the important thing, is that when you do modelling and when you're working with all these potentially toxic things, is to change the air. I mean, as soon as I'm finished, I'll open the window. It's not really that bad, that stinky in here. I'm not getting intoxicated with acetone or lighter fluid. Perfectly okay. Okay, but my wife has a better sense of smell than my own. My sense of smell is a bit faulty. I mean, it's there. I can smell things, but I'm blessed by being spared some of the nasties. Okay, right. Now, we've cleaned the contacts, we've cleaned the pickups, we've cleaned the axles. Let's check that there aren't any hairs in here. A fantastic light that I bought on Amazon called Work Light, made in China. The instructions were absolutely ridiculous. There was written in the Work Light, so I call this Work Light. Being a translator, I'm amused by terrible instructions. Work light, and it wasn't clear if work light was he, she, or it. It was, I think I kept instructions because they were too good to throw away. Anyway, rather good and amusing. Let's see if I'm talking to myself. No, we've got 28:20. I'm awfully long-winded, haven't I? Chat, gab. Okay, that's clean. Let's lubricate and then let's shut shop, because I've got things to do. So we're going to take, this is technical petroleum jelly, grease, it's marked G. The other one is oil plus grease, and it's correctly marked OG. This one is benzina, so it's benzina means petrol or fluid in petrol in Italian, and so it's marked B. I'm fully bilingual. I use both languages all the time. Okay, right, here's technical petroleum jelly. Let's get a toothpick. I call them toothpicks, I don't call them cocktail sticks. People call them cocktail sticks. It sounds, what do you think? I'm going to use, well, I'll use a cocktail stick. It's longer. Actually, the best thing to do is a bit of wire because it's longer. Okay, let's lubricate the wheels, the axles. Let me see what you see. Okay, you're seeing very well. There's no point in me doing a video and just showing you the back of my hand, because we're not here doing a video about manicure, are we? Okay, I'll use a bent paper clip. That does the job better. Okay. We don't want to exaggerate with the grease. You don't want too much, but you don't want too little either. You want to have the right quantity to lubricate and guarantee electrical conductivity. So we just move this along. Technical petroleum jelly comes in a big tube, and so of course it's not really I always squirt some into a wee jar because it's easier to use. It's important to stir it up well because the oil component tends to separate the wet bit from the greasy part, so you're wanting to get grease on the thing, not just oil. So I generally go with the buyer and I scoop it along the side here at the top of the jar. You can see that things are nice and greasy there. Let's just use a toothpick to get going. Scoop some down with a toothpick and go on directly on the pickups now. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing. Oh. Yes, you can. Perfect. We're just going to grease the pickups. There. It's good because it doesn't get splashed all over the place like oil. There are all sorts of makes of lubricants for model trains. There's branded products like Rocco, Fleischmann, etc. But I discovered technical petroleum jelly on a forum, an Italian model train forum that were talking about technical Vaseline, which that's what it is, technical petroleum jelly in English, and it's really fantastic. It's I even put it on the car battery. On locks, car door locks are subject. I have the cars parked outside in northeastern damp world in Italy, so I always put some on the car locks and things to make sure things don't seize up. Oh, we have to put a spot on. I'm going to have to top this up, but it's beginning to be short. Righto, let's stick some on the gear as well. And we want to lubricate the axles too. Okay, I think I'm just going to clean this out here directly in the axle boxes, and we're definitely going to have to fill this up another wee bit. There and there. Make sure everything runs nice and smooth, and there's some in the lid as well. That's also that's good. That's a bit more. It's a bit thicker. Let's take what was in the lid, mix it with the rest. Okay, we'll just stick some on the worm drive, exactly like that. Pack the worm drive with some grease. Okay, maybe we can add a wee bit on the gear. Don't really need that much, I've greased the wheels, greased the axles are nice and greased. Let's put some of the thicker parts out of the lid to make sure that it's thicker, not too fluid. Don't want any of this stuff going on the track because then there'll be wheel slip all over the place. Okay, that's a bit too much there. Okie doke. Very well, that's that done. Right, we can take the drive gear, the wheel sets, and just pop it back in position. We have to see that where's my dirty rag? Paper handkerchief. Oh, where are we? Turning into a long video. Okay, now we'll just pop the always good to put the front wheels in first. That way they sort of quarter by themselves, and that's it. Wheels are quartered themselves. I mean, it's an 06, so it's nothing special. Okay, and now we can, let's just see if it's behaving itself. Now, of course, it's jumping out because there's no base plate holding it in position. So let's just do things the proper way. X, Y, Z, get in position. There you go. That's you. Bob's your uncle. Okay, right. We're just going to pop the base plate in position. How's the grease here? Let's see what state. I always grease that, because there's a kind of dirty grease here. A wee spot of grease on the base plate as well, doesn't harm anybody, just a wee to dirty it a little bit, just to, particularly on this very worn out locomotive. Apart from the fact you'll get anyway grease coming from the okay. There, and we also reduce wear on the base plate. Okay, that's in position. Now there's a front and a back, of course. First we clip it on at the front, Jouef, made in France. That goes on there, and you just press it in. 1, 2, and 3, and make sure it's well clipped in. That's it, at the back. So that's in position. That's all okay. Let's just take these sandpipes and twist them back where they should be. Let's twist them back in position.